Hello everyone, we are live yet again, and this is exciting because I wasn't sure last week, sorry, a little something in my eye, wasn't sure last week if we would be here, at least on this particular platform, and thankfully we are. But we'll see how it goes moving forward in the States with everything that's going on with Clock App. But this will be one of my authors chats of the week, and I see my co-host already ready, so I'm going to send her an invitation, and we should get things up and running. Let me turn the volume up. Try to check all the boxes.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm trying to get my camera to work. I don't know why it's not.
It almost always reverts to that, and because I'm the one who starts the lives, it doesn't happen to me, but it just happens to everybody who joins. So, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm glad. I'm sorry that you are suffering from a migraine today, because that's never fun. And we will, you let me know how long you're able to last, and then we'll end it whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. They suck. I've been having some neck issues, and that's kind of where they stem from. And so I had physical therapy for the first time yesterday. So it really just made it angry, I think, is what happened there. So should have thought about that, but I didn't.
It's okay. Plus, since I do schedule these in advance, sometimes it's hard to foresee what could come or be scheduled in and around it closer to that date. So I totally understand, but I am glad you're here. It's been a moment since we've kind of done one of these lives together. But how's everything?
I know it's been so long. So much has happened.
Yeah, well, actually,
let's the books, great. Yeah.
I was gonna say, let's dive right in, but before we jump right to the books, reintroduce yourself and what you write, because we always get new people who jump on this video, and if I'm able to repurpose it, you never know who will see you for the first time. So introduce yourself and what you write.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Arabella K Federico. I am a Romantasy author, and so I'm most known for my debut, The Mark of Chaos and Creation. So this is book 1, and this is book 2, and the third one is coming out soon. It is it's the third and final one, but she's a thick, chunky lady. So the first draft was almost 300,000 words, which is double the size of the second one. So huge. So she's in edits now. I'll actually get my developmental edit back tomorrow, is what they said. So I'm excited for that. So we're thinking maybe June, July, August for release day. I don't want to give a date because I got to look at you know how it is. You got to look at what your dev editor says and how much work you got to do. But this is really like a Sailor Moon retelling. So that's kind of like how I market it. But like Sailor Moon, if Tuxedo Mask was the villain type of thing, who wears like a metaphorical mask. He doesn't actually wear a mask. Yeah, it's really fun, and it's great for somebody who really loves romantasy but wants a fresh take on it. So it has some sci-fi in there, but it has a lot of twists and turns. It has all the tropes that we love, like enemies to lovers and found family and villain gets the girl, but it really subverts those, and it takes you on a crazy ride that you really won't expect. And especially the ending of this one, it's like a throw the book across the room type of ending, and I love it. And I think that's why so many people are excited for the third one, because of the way this one ended. It was just such a wild, unexpected ending. So yeah, that's kind of how I write, and how I like to write very unexpected, because I'm one of those people. I know people love to kind of read the same thing over and over and over and over again. That's really comforting to a lot of people. It bugs me. So I want something that's gonna wow me and get my gears going. So that's what I like to write.
Well, it's interesting that you kind of were talking about it in that manner, because recently one of my questions of the day was pertaining to, do people want books that are as unique as possible, or do they like books that do resonate with some of the like you said, those comforting tropes and things that you're familiar with. And it was an interesting kind of split because there were definitely some that wanted, as unique as possible, but then there were a lot of people who, tropes are something that we can relate to. And, it definitely is, if you have that particular style that you want, you list to it. It's something that you search when you're trying to figure out another book that you like. So it is kind of fun to do what you're doing and take something similar, flip it around in a new way, and kind of hopefully appease both people.
Yeah, because it does have those tropes. But I think like what makes me different is that it has the tropes in there and it's kind of set up to get you to think that it's gonna go the way you think it's gonna go, and then it doesn't. And so like, for example, the villain gets the girl, like the way it's set up, you're like, okay, we love that, but then it happens and you're like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna happen like that. And so that's kind of how I do it. But then there's tropes like the found family trope where it is like the traditional trope that we love, right? Where like my character, she is an orphan and she like really just wants to be loved. I think that's really like at the core for her, is that she just wants someone to love her. And so like the family that she finds really does give her that, and it's good for her. And she finds, there's another family that's toxic and not good for her. And so she has to be the person that chooses what's good for her, right? And so like found family is done in a really traditional way. So like it really does have the best of both worlds, I feel. And yeah, I mean, I love the series. Of course, I wrote it and I'm really proud of it. And I love the way that it ends, and I hope like everybody is happy with it. So yeah, I'm really proud of what I did with this series.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, anybody who's, who writes a book, they should be proud. Anybody who publishes that book should be proud. And then if you're doing a series to get done with a series, I mean, that is an accomplishment. And so that is exciting that you're about to hit the end of this particular series. Now, I'm curious because you were mentioning how chunky this third book will be. It's almost twice the size of some of your others. Did you ever consider splitting it up into two parts, or did you choose, what was your reasoning of keeping it 3 versus 4 books in a series once you realized it was going to be a chunky book? I mean, I love chunky books.
So I actually wanted to do a video about this because it's without fail. When I bring this topic up, a lot of people say, well, just split it. And so I'm super, super against that, and I'll tell you why. So for me in my process, what I do is I extensively outline before. Oh, hi. Thank you for the roses. I extensively outline before I start writing. So for me, like, I don't know if I told you this before, but I studied craft for about 4 years before I actually ever wrote my first draft. So I did a lot of like hard study of craft. And so, I have a strict like beat sheet that I follow, and it has like the character arc and then the midpoint turn and then the way that it ends and resolves. So when I plotted book 3, it had every single step, every single beat. So if I were to split that book up, it blows that plot and her character arc and every dynamic beat that I had, it just screws it up. I would have to completely basically start over and craft the scenes and how I wanted the scenes to end at like a little cliff, and then it makes them turn the page. So everything is crafted out specifically to keep those pages flipping, and it would just screw it up for me. And two, it is expensive to produce a thick book. It's expensive, but I feel like it's more expensive to produce 2 more books, right? I have to do a whole nother cover. I have to get another developmental edit. I have to get another line copy proofread formatting. And 2, I wanted to be done. I wanted the series to be done. And I don't feel like it really needed a 4th book. It just needed to be cut down, and that's what the dev editors are doing. And that's really just kind of what my reasoning was. And But I know other authors don't outline or plot like I do, and like those beats in that structure isn't as like solid for other authors, so they could maybe like wiggle out of that and do it, but I didn't want to.
No, that's totally fine because I've heard it always from different authors because everybody has their preferences and their reasons for choosing to do one thing versus another. And for me, I'm kind of with you. If my story needed one book to be oversized compared to the rest of the series, that's what it needs. But yeah, I've heard it always. And again, every author gets to choose what they want and how they want to present their story and break it apart or not. And the only reason I think that some people might need to chop up a book is if they're writing something that's like thousands and thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but like those huge, how many pagers, and because at some point you can't physically print a book that's so big. That's the only time where I feel like even if the author wants it a certain way, you can't. You have the physical limitations of the number of pages that can be printed. But outside of that, it's up to you. And it's like exciting because once you're done,
I mean, it's too big. Go ahead.
Yeah, continue. I was gonna say, go continue.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just gonna say that I agree completely. Like, there is a point to where it's just like, okay, like, if it really is that big, because, like, I feel like mine just needed just trimming. Like, so it was almost 300,000 when I finished the first draft. I got it down to 260 something when I sent it to the dev editors, and then once it goes to the line editor, I want it to be at 200. So that's what I paid her for. So I paid her for 200, so that's where it's gonna have to be. So book 2 was 144. So that's really not that much bigger. At the end of the day, it'll probably be like yay big. Like that, which is still fat, but I mean this one's pretty big, I feel like. But I mean, when it's like a finale of a book like mine, that is so it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot to do, and plus I have dragons in the third one, so like that opens up a whole new thing because there's not dragons in the first two, and if you've read them you'd be like, wait, how because it has like a sci-fi like setting to it, and it has hot aliens and stuff, and so you're like, wait, how in the hell are dragons gonna fit into this? And they fit so good. I don't know how I figured it out. But I was like, man, dragons are so popular, like fourth grade and all that stuff. And I was like, I wonder if I could fit. And it kind of started out as a joke. I swear to God, it started out as a joke, and it just worked. So I'm super excited for the dragon element. It makes like the final battle so freaking awesome. So yeah, and like that commenter says down there, like dragons do take up a lot of space. So their whole story is so cool. It's so much fun. I'm so glad I had that silly idea because it really turned out to be cool.
I 100% agree. Right now, I'm finishing up some of my preliminary edits before I send one of my books to my editor, and in that one, it's for my young adult series, which is kind of like you, being the fact that it's a magical multiverse. There's portals, there's world travel, but it's a very high fantasy thing too. So that's kind of that blend of some sci-fi elements with very fantasy reality. But that next book is going to be based in and around the world of dragons. So there's going to be a lot of them in there. And I am a dragon person. Can you not tell? So I've been really excited about that one. But they're fun and definitely something that is enjoyable to write about and learn their backstory or backstories, depending on how many you have. But it's a lot of fun. Now for you, since you have the end in sight for this series, do you have any clue of what you might do next? Are you going to take a pause and a breath and a pat on the back and be like, I did this. Give me a moment to celebrate.
No, I wish. So I actually did the title reveal for my next series. So it's called A Life to Immortal. And so this is going to be like a starting out adult like gothic medieval trial style book. And so fae, vampires, demons, very, very fun, kind of like gothic celestial kind of mix. Yeah, I'm so excited about it. Like really dark, really violent, really sexy is basically kind of what I'm going for there. With the gothic vibes. So I'm so excited for it. Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
I see some comments that have been popping up here, including there are very few situations that aren't improved by dragons. I 100% agree. And another one, where did you go? Oh, there it is. 300,000 words could drain me. My brain wouldn't be mush. Yeah, that's a lot of writing. That is a lot. How long did it take you to write part 3?
Oh God, like 9 months, which is kind of sad because like this one took me like 2.5. This book like just spewed out of me. Like this was the easiest book that I've ever written. And yeah, no, 3 was tough because so the way this one ends, it ends on that cliff, but like when we started looking at the trope that it ended with, so the trope that we're now dealing with, that I wrote myself into, because I kind of wrote myself into a corner. So we were like, okay, well, how does traditional media handle this trope? And the way they handle it, we couldn't do it that way. Because it would be no fun for the audience, essentially. So we had to come up with another way of doing it. So we looked at a lot of traditional media, from TV shows to movies to books, that dealt with this trope. And we really kind of found a couple that did what I did, but it was very, very few amongst the many. And so we kind of had to figure out like how it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, how it affected the main character's arc. And it was just really tough. Like book 3 should have been a book that I had written at maybe my 9th or 8th book, not really like my 3rd major story. So like props to like my editor team, because without them I would have been so lost. And so like they're really involved in like I have my main idea, and then like we work so close together, and I work with like a team of them. And so we outline kind of together, and we kind of do that, and then I write it, and then they get it, and then obviously I get my dev edit back. And like they're just so important to my process, and I learned so much about storytelling through them. And it's an unusual relationship that we have, because I do their social media in exchange for like the work they do for me in my books. Yeah. And so that's why I get like the whole team of them. So it's an editing company, and then like I get everybody. So I do get a lot of like extra help with my story from them. So it's just a really good deal, and they're so intelligent and so good at story. Like if anybody like needs a good developmental editor, like they know their stuff. They're very expensive, however, but they're worth it. They're 100% worth it. Like they're the ones that, yeah, they've been. What?
Oh, I was saying you pay for what you get, so if there are a lot of people that they are expensive for a reason. Not everybody, but a lot of people are expensive for a reason.
Yeah. So she did Mistborn. So she did Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. So and she's edited like over 1,000 novels. Like she's so good, just so good. And yeah, like the team you have around you as an indie author is really, really important. It's just so important. And like my other editor is great too, the one who does all the line level stuff, and like my audio narrators are great, and my cover designer is great. So like I really did get super lucky with the team that I have found to help me, because you can't do it by yourself. Like, you know that. Like, it like takes a village to do this, it's a lot. So yeah. I just got really lucky.
I did see a question pop up a little bit ago asking, how spicy do things get in your particular story since you are a romantasy writer?
Yeah. Okay, so I called this series a slow burn to spicy. So the first book is a slow burn. There's no spice, but there is romance, and then it really picks up in the second one where you get like the fully described scene, if you know what I mean. So like 2.5 pepper, I would say, and then the third one is really really spicy. We get 5 spicy scenes, like very spicy, and so I'd say about 4 peppers. So it really picks up. You got to work for it, but like you get everything you want. So like when you're reading this, you're like, I want so and so to do it with so and so, but then I also want her to do it with so and so too. And so you so just trust me, when everybody will be happy. Everybody will be happy. I don't know about the ending, but with the spice, everybody's happy. He knows what I'm talking about.
And I see a couple people.
I'm gonna screw up your name.
Yeah, I see a couple people popping up and saying that 9 months. That's phenomenal, and 9 months is a baby, and both are correct. 9 months. Hey, you know what? There are people who take years to write a book, so everybody's spacing and time is different, and you just do what's right by you and your work. So if someone writes it in a month, more power to them. If someone writes in 2 years, that's perfectly fine too. You wrote a book.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I always say the better your outline is, the easier your drafting is. That's just my opinion. But people have their processes, like we said before.
Yeah, because my process is evolving. It always evolves depending on the project. And I've said this repeatedly, that last year I actually put a hard stop on one of the books I was working on because I do light outlines, or I have until that book. And then it was just getting so complex with all the layers that I backed away, wrote another book kind of as kind of a palette cleanser style thing. And now I'm getting back to the point where I'm about to go sit back down and look at my outline and really kind of firm it up, because that one's definitely going to need a lot more structure for me to tackle it than I've had to do in the past for some of my other books. So I get it.
Yeah. And like it really does depend, like on the story, like you said, like it really, really depends. And two, when you're working with series and an ongoing story, it's even more complex. So like there is never a one size fits all thing for anybody or any author. Like book 2 and 3 were so different conceptually and practically. So it's all so different depending on where you go. So I totally agree there.
And you learn as you go too, and so you improve and you fine tune however your writing style is along the way. So that's at least my goal, is to continue to fine tune, tweak, and adjust so it polishes up more and more with every future project. But let me ask you, because I know I know you may not be around for the full hour, but I do want to make sure I do hit the questions I always like to ask, including, now that you have 2 books out and you will soon have a third, which is super exciting, where are your books found? Are you exclusive through Zon? Do you sell direct? Are you wide? Where can people find your books? Let's make sure we hit these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amazon, of course, I am on Kindle Unlimited. I'm on Audible. I am through Barnes and Noble, and you can buy direct through me, but I don't like have my website isn't set up for that because WooCommerce keeps crashing my website. So you can always DM me on Instagram and I can do it that way. But primarily through Amazon is where I get the most of my sales.
And you already kind of covered the formats in the sense that obviously paperback and audio and ebook. Do you have hardcover, or is it just those three at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the hardcover and they're so pretty because they have a really pretty design underneath them. I should have brought them with me, but they're not up here. They're downstairs, but they're really pretty. So they have the dust jacket and then they have a pretty design underneath and then a quote on the back. But I will say, if you do want the hardcovers, get those ones from Barnes and Noble. They are available on Amazon, but originally book one had a different design under the jacket, and from what I've heard, Amazon is sending the old one. So they wouldn't match. So I always tell people to just buy them off of Barnes and Noble because they do match. It's been updated for like over a year and a half. I don't know what Amazon's problem is. I think no one buys my hardcovers through Amazon. So I think what it is they had them printed a while ago, and like since, because it's on its own listing. So like for book two, all four formats are there. The hardcover is there, the audiobook, everything's there. But for the first one, only the ebook, the paperback, and the audio are linked, and then the hardback is just on its own island. So nobody sees it, number one. I know. And I've tried, they won't fix it. So nobody sees it, and so nobody buys it, and so it's still the old one. So I could just buy them up until I start getting the freaking right under jacket design, but yeah, it's such a pain, and it confuses people. They don't understand, and they're like, well, why are you telling me not to buy it on Amazon? I'm like, I'm just trying to save you from it being mismatched. Like, I'm sorry.
There's printing things, working with certain printers and distributors versus others, and yeah, I've heard some stuff. My hardcovers are the ones that print the image directly on the cover. I don't have a dust jacket at the moment, though I'm hoping to do some special edition releases toward the end of this year for the first time, which would potentially include a dust jacket. So I may have to reach out to you and be like, okay, teach me your ways, wise one. How do I even?
Yeah, well, I mean, I found it pretty easy. It's just, you have to go through Ingram. Do you go through them?
I'm moving my stuff wide, so hopefully by the end of this month, I'll have my ebooks and most of my audiobooks wide. Then I'm going to tackle hardcover, and paperback print stuff. Okay. So I haven't gone that far yet. So there's that. But okay. When I get there, I'm like, who can help me? Walk me through it. Hold my hand.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely reach out. It's really easy. It really is. And yeah, I mean, I prefer it. But again, it's all just kind of like personal thing. I know, like when I'm at events, like these hardcovers sell like hotcakes. Like you can't keep them in stock, and so like it's really nice to have. I don't know, like this sounds kind of awful, but it's just kind of how sales work. So like the presentation is so important, right? Like, and so like people really like having the dust jacket and take it off and then have the pretty design underneath. That really, really seems to work for people. So if you can do it that way, I'd say do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest tip.
Yeah. Thank you. Because I do know there are definitely people who just love the dust jacket, but because at the point when I was going and making when Zahn started doing their own hardcovers, I was exclusive to them at the time, so that's why I went one way. But now I'm kind of like, if I had special editions that had the dust jacket and had the pretty, shiny stuff up underneath the foiling and etc. So I'll make it really pretty. People do like those kind of things. And I love that. But actually, you guys talk about events. And so events this year is something that I know I've trying to do more of and go and do face-to-face and sell at more cons and conventions and, again, things like that, as well as be on panels. Do you have any plans this year of going to any events? And if so, which ones do you have in mind?
Yeah, so I'm doing a few. So I'll be at Lilac City Comic Con in Spokane, Washington. I'm scheduled for books in Belfast or something like that in Belfast, Ireland. And then I'm doing Books, Gowns, and Crowns, Chapter 4 in Washington, D.C. And then I'll probably do some other little smaller ones locally. I'm always doing ones at Barnes & Noble. I do like 4 to 6 at Barnes & Noble a year, so I do quite a few through them. So yeah. I like, I've had health problems, so the one of those may kind of not happen. It depends on kind of a prognosis of mine. So I might not be able to make one of those. But nothing is official. It really just kind of depends. I need a little more time to kind of figure that out, but it is what it is. So yeah, we'll just kind of see, and hopefully things just get better, knock on wood, and it's just not a big deal. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, let me also ask, especially with what has happened so recently, where outside of Book Talk can people find and follow you? You mentioned a website, but you said it kind of was having some issues. Do you have a newsletter or other socials? Where else can people find and follow you? Because that is important to know, especially now.
Yeah, no, it's so important. So the website is totally fine. It's so when I when I tried to sell my books on my website, like I downloaded a very popular plugin is what they call it, WooCommerce, and it's just like something that you use to sell, and it just for whatever reason it just kept crashing my site, and there's really not a lot of other options to do that kind of physical product selling, and so I had to get rid of it, but the website works fine. And so that's just www.arabellakfederico.com. So it's just my name, and I do have a newsletter that you can sign up there. And then aside from that, I'm literally everywhere. So I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Lemon8, something else, I'm sure. Oh yeah, Blue Sky. I did download RedNote, but I haven't used it. I don't know if I'm going to. And I'm probably somewhere else. I forgot.
Okay, I mean, I haven't done RedNote either, but I am keeping an eye out because there are 2 new ones that are going to be launching over the next few months, including Tome, which is supposed to be specifically fantasy books, and then Neptune, which is interesting because they're what they've been talking about and how they pitch it is on the whole idea of put the power in the hands of the creators and not anybody behind the big industry. So I thought it was interesting enough. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on both of those. But I get it. It's good to diversify, but it also takes a lot of time to do all those things. And as far as I was going to say, as far as website goes, the way I've been able to sell through mine is I go through Shopify, but that's another expense. So, it's all about what you can afford to do in the end, too.
Yeah, that was kind of my option. I was thinking of either trying to do WooCommerce one more time or just doing the Shopify thing. But I feel like it's so dumb because I already have the website, right? Like I have the infrastructure, I own it. But at the end of the day, if I can't access it through WooCommerce, I don't have it. You know what I mean? So, but I did want to say before I forget, and I don't know, I'm beta testing Neptune. So I got into their beta testing program. So, and I actually have a plan to do a really in-depth blog post and YouTube video about how it works specifically for authors and readers. So, that's something I've been screaming from the rooftops. I knew I was forgetting something. I just, brain not working tonight. So I am really, really excited.
Yay, good to know.
Yeah.
That is exciting because you're the first person I know that's has some of the behind the scenes, been able to work with them. I know at the moment Tome is available for people to at least, I think, start looking at it if you have the iPhone side of things, but I'm an Android, so I'm kind of waiting for them to launch my side of things. So I want to go on that one. But yeah, no, there are some promising new places out there. I was just, curious. And, but yeah, it is unfortunate for the website part that, you can't have almost, you could have a one-stop shop, but like you, I created my website and there's so much information, so much there that instead of having, just one or the other, I actually have a button that just sends people, if you want to go to the bookshop, it'll send you to my Shopify site. So, but you can find that button on.
So that's how you would.
Yeah, it says.
So you'd be like, okay, here's the books.
Yep. It says, whatever you want to call it on your website, say, oh, go to the bookshop or whatever, and they click it and it just redirects you to your Shopify. And that's how I do it for people who want that aspect. But again, another thing to pay for. And as indie authors, you just have to, there's a lot of things we have to consider. Budget, time, money, effort, energy, sanity.
Yeah, I know. So how do you feel like the fees they take is a lot? Because you have to pay monthly and then they take fees, don't they, from each transaction?
But the transactional fees are very small in all regards. I mean, I'm still making per sale far, far, far more than I do through any other platform. You just have to cover that monthly fee. So there is that kind of counter. So you have to just kind of view it as, can you cover the overhead of the monthly fee and then make profit off of that? But yeah, and then kind of like anything that once you have the Shopify, you could connect it if you were doing some of the merchandise sites, or if you want your physical copies, if you want to connect it to BookFunnel and sell ebooks and audiobooks, you could do all that too. And so, it does give you some play on how you distribute stuff. So just
because I have a Printify and yeah. Well, and I don't know what my problem is because I have a Printify, but I've never shared it with anybody, and I don't know why. I don't know. Because I have like a sweater and a shirt and a mug and all this cool stuff, and I don't know why I've never shared it with anybody. I don't know. It's all there. I don't know what my problem is. So
I think
I need to do that. I don't know.
I think you can connect that to your shop.
Stupid.
There are ways you can kind of all interconnect them, and but yeah. So, and then you can do that to your TikTok shop or your Instagram shop, and all that kind of stuff can all integrate. That's what I was trying to do behind the scenes today, was figure out, can I create a account on, I know a lot of people are upset with Instagram, Facebook, Meta kind of stuff, but as an indie author, I need to be places too. And again, try to spread the reach and et cetera, so on. Oh, the joys. But trying to create more ways where people can just one click and send you over and say, hey, buy the book. Get a signed copy, get your extra perks, get all these cool things.
Yeah.
It's like what another reason why I launched a Patreon this past week. It's just another way to engage with readers, offer various things, and hopefully pay the bills.
Yeah. I know. I completely get it. And having multiple streams is just the best way to do it, because we know what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You get TikTok. You get a mess. So the whole thing was so traumatic. I don't know about you, but it was really traumatic for me.
It was, because I know there were definitely people on here that really did believe that it was coming back and all that stuff, and I wanted to believe it, but the part of my brain was like, what if it doesn't? And the amount of people, my network, my home base essentially is here at this moment of time. And so it was very scary for me, because not that I wasn't already planning to do some kind of things and Discord and all this kind of expansions this year, but losing that just like the way temporarily, I know it was 12 hours, but it was kind of devastating to think that could have been it. And again, what is that, 70 days before it potentially could happen again. And it's just like, okay. As a business owner,
and so
as an author, we run our business, and it is scary.
Yeah, well, and for me, like I have another account that I am like fiddling with, and my books went pretty viral over there like the week of this whole thing. And so I actually finally got my Amazon bestseller banner. Like it, and I was like, oh my God, I finally figured it out. Like I figured out TikTok, like I'm having multiple videos just hitting and doing well. And I'm like, I've got the formula. Like I figured it out. It taken me like 5 years, but I finally freaking figured out this stupid app. And now they're taking it away from me. And I don't know, like, if it, like, on one hand, I was like, okay, that was a gift that, like, the universe gave me. Like, I finally, like, got my book viral. Like, that's never happened before. Not on this scale. Like, I had, like, it was pretty good. And so, and I was like, okay, and I got my banner, something I had been wanting for a long time. And so like it was kind of like a last gift, and I know a lot of authors wanted that too and never got it. But then it was just like knowing that I had finally gotten it and I was able to recreate the success again and again and again, and now it's gone, just crushed me. And like you, like it's where the majority of my sales come from. So it's like I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. Like it's gonna be rough to kind of do this all over again. And I fear like we won't have like the power behind it like we did on this one, because people are gonna be complacent and they're gonna think, oh, it's just gonna come back again. I don't know. I think it's in trouble. And if we do get it back, like the algorithm is the meat and potatoes of this app. So if they sell, they're not going to sell that algorithm, and then it's just going to be like Clapper or any other old basic app that sucks, and that virality component will be gone, and so it might as well be banned anyway. You know what I mean? Like
Here's
I
my
don't
thing
know.
is, at least we have
Stupid.
time to, again, just, connect with the people that are here, let them know, again, if they're willing to, if they want to really, truly just ensure you have that ability to stay connected in case of worst case scenario, and say, you don't have to follow me everywhere, but if you want to follow me somewhere, here's the places, and here's what you can do, and here's where we can potentially continue to keep in touch, because, again, readers are fantastic and sales are amazing, but it's also the community of, just the people you get to know and befriend, and maybe it's other authors or writers, but like book narrators or whoever else you're meeting and hanging out with here, that builds that community. You don't want to lose it. So we have, at least in the States, we have a little bit of time to just say, hey, let's come up with plan B and C. It may not be perfect, but at least, for those willing to make that extra effort to connect with people and just have that scenarios policy ready to go. It's tough. Like I told you behind the scenes that before, or last week, that I didn't know if we were going to be doing this here or if we were going to be switching this over to Instagram for the duration until I found some, wherever I wanted to settle with these lives, and you just didn't know.
Yeah, I know, it was terrifying. And it was so up and down, like, like it was just like this the Congress people trying to get the extension, and then the guy shooting it down, and then the Supreme Court and their stupid decision, and then Trump, and then Biden, and then this and then that. And I'm like, oh my God, just stop it. And like I actually had a book signing at Barnes and Noble the day it went dark. And so it was really difficult for me to go there and do that, because I was like, for me, it was done. Like I still feel like it's kind of done. Like, so, I went to that signing and I was like, well, like here I am selling my books, but my shop is basically getting bulldozed, and it's like it feels just so like career ending. Honestly, it really does. And I know a lot of other authors and business owners feel that way. And for me, like, and I don't want to get into like a political like thing, because that's not what we're here for, but like my eyes were just really open to like our representatives. Just I feel like they really, really were not listening to so many of us. Like I had never seen people so together and so engaged and so powerfully pushing for a result, and then our representatives saying like, we don't care.
Yeah.
No, we don't care. We don't hear you. And that was really like shocking to me. Like I was pretty pessimistic about them to begin with, but now I'm just like, it really grossed me out. It really gave me the ick. And it was really disappointing to see so many of them just not care about businesses and dreams and money and our income and our mental health and so many different factors and things that this app gives people that they just said, we don't care. We don't give a crap. Go off.
Yeah,
I can't. It grossed me out.
I think people would actually be shocked when they realize the financial aspect of all the smaller and even some of the mid-level businesses that utilize this as what is this, meat and potatoes kind of thing, and it's just it's scary. So for everybody out there, come up with some kind of strategy game plan in the what if scenario. That's why I'm trying to do all these kind of new things. Like I said, Patreon, Discord. I started trying to figure out if I can open up a shop on I know the horror thing, but the meta, and again, just trying to diversify as much as possible, keeping an eye open for future things like you were saying about Neptune, and I was mentioning about Tome. So come up with a game plan, try your best, but it won't, whatever happens, it's going to be different. If it happens, it'll be very different. But regardless, let's talk about good things, like the fact that you are about to finish your series and you already kind of have ideas for the future. So that is a marvelous thing. And just to reiterate, what was the month you were trying to hopefully aim towards for the release? I know there's nothing permanent because anything could happen.
Yeah. So I have a big event at the beginning of June, so I really want to try to get that done. That's when I am going to be at the Comic-Con in Washington, and I do really good there. And I know a lot of the people that go there. This will be my 3rd year there. So they've kind of watched me, you know, like my first one I had book 1 there, and my second one I had book 1 and 2. So I know they really I know so many people want it, and they're so excited for it. And so I'm trying to do early June, but like I said, it's big, and I need to know what the dev editors have, the work I have to do. So basically, to make that deadline, I have to do my entire edit in a month, and I just don't think I'm going to be able to do that with the size. God. So I don't know. It's just, I really want to have it there for them, but I just don't know. So June, July, or August, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
It's okay.
I'm trying though. I really am.
Yeah, I've been so hesitant to set hard dates in the future because there are so many what ifs, ruts in the road. If, you know, your editor gets sick and it's not around, which has happened to me, you know, it can affect things dramatically. So I've always been hesitant because I've also been unwilling to plan to wait around years when I have my stuff ready. I hate that. It weirds me out, and I just want it to share it in the world. But there are authors who do it strategically, and they plan years in advance between finishing the editing and everything's ready before they're released because they're building up the buzz. And I need to be better about that. I need something in between where I can actually set a hard date in a maybe not distant future, but be able to do better promotions on the upcoming book versus being like, it's out, enjoy.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, people have been waiting. They're about to wait. They've been basically waiting like 2 years for it. So my poor readers are so so sorry. Because I got book 2 published a year to the date of book 1. Like, I was, like, so good on that. And then I initially was planning for that, and I was like, no, not going to happen. And then I had set a hard date of January 7th, and that was definitely not going to happen. So I don't want to give another hard date and have to go back on it. And I know they want them there for the events. They want them signed, but it's my last one. I want to do right by it, and I don't want to screw it up. So I see the comment there. My first book is called The Mark of Chaos and Creation. I market it as a Sailor Moon retelling where Tuxedo Mask is the villain, but you don't need to know anything about Sailor Moon to enjoy it. It's really a true mix between fantasy and sci-fi, and it's a tale of revenge, and it has a lot of the like romantasy tropes that we love, like found family, enemies to lovers, love triangle, villain gets the girl. And so book 2, The Mark of Dreams and Darkness, has Hunger Games vibes. It's a trials book. It has a crazy ending, and it's really a blast. They're rated great. You can get them anywhere. They're on Amazon, they're on Kindle Unlimited, they're also on Audible. And the Audible is really great because on book 1 we had just a single lady narrator, but on book 2 we added 2 male voices. And so I did it really interesting here. So the way that they did it is like their point of view. So they're in their point of view, right? So we have the villain point of view, and his voice is just like panty dropper voice. It's ridiculous. So he does his point of view, but then he also does his dialogue in her point of view. So it's done so unique. And then there's a third character that he does his throughout the whole thing. So it's kind of like a mix between duel and duet. They thought I was crazy when I asked them to do it that way, but it really came together. The readers really liked how it was done, and we're going to try to do something very similar for the third one if I can ever afford to get the third one produced. But but they're great. The audios are done so freaking good. And they're available, like I said, in ebook, audio, paperback, hardcover. If you want to get the hardcover, get those at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. Sorry. It's toward the end of I could hear the hour, so I'm starting to get the scratchy voice because I forgot to bring my water. My bad. But going back to the point of you missing your annual release, remember you wrote 2 books. It's thick. It's as big as 2 books. So of course it takes twice as long to produce. You have a chonker coming out. So
yeah,
you shouldn't pressure yourself that much. Just remind yourself you physically wrote enough word for 4, even though it's 3 books.
Okay. That's true. That's true. I did. Yeah. And yeah.
Put the work in.
So true. Yeah, and they've been actually really good.
Yeah.
What?
Good. That is
okay. Sorry.
I think there's a little bit of a lag. I know on my end.
I'm very excited.
But
me too. It's okay. No biggie.
So we actually did hit pretty much the end of the hour. So this is the time where I like to ask you, Arabella, as well as anybody else who's listening, is there any topic you wanted to cover that we didn't cover? Is there any questions you wanted to ask that you never got to ask? And is there any announcements? So this is that time to do any of the above for anybody here.
I think I'm good. I think I'll just say that the next book that I'm doing, it's called A Life to Immortal. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but there's new people here now. So it's going to be a medieval gothic trials book with a hot demon prince and vampires and fae. And so I'm really excited for that. And so like I'm on all the socials everywhere, Instagram, YouTube, my website, which is just my name, arabellakfederico.com. But yeah, I'm really excited for that to come out. And yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything else in the last like 20 minutes that we were here. But yeah.
I guess my only announcements for the week, just to reiterate what has happened, is that I just started Discord for anybody who wants, again, trying to keep that community going aspect. But I also did my Patreon, where I'm actually releasing early, very, very early access to my Greek retelling series. So I'm going to have it's a duology, and so you're going to be able to read the chapters months, potentially even years before the book actually publishes, plus a bunch of other things depending on the level. So that's kind of cool. It's one of those things, again, trying to diversify, try new things, and offer some fun, never before exclusives to readers who just want to enjoy the journey. So, ta-da!
That's cool. Yeah, that's such a good idea. I should do that.
Just another thing to add to your never-ending list of to-dos.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I know you, like you said, you've been plagued by your migraine today, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. I want you to be able to rest, relax, recuperate as much as you can, because that's never fun. But thank you so much for making the effort to come out and hang out with me for this last hour. I've, always loved catching up with people and hadn't talked to you in a while. So it's been really neat catching up and finding out all the things you're up to now.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure. Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the time and the platform to talk about my little book babies. It means the world, and it was so good to see you again.
Yeah, maybe after you published your third one, and we can talk about how it feels of wrapping up a series. But I'll let you go so you can enjoy the rest of your evening. And for everybody who's been jumping in, chiming out, and hanging out, and giving us all the likes, thank you so much. We appreciate that, and hope you guys have happy rest of the day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye.